time to get started. I'd like to ask if Jack Fulton, would you like to read some prayer?
Almighty God, Heavenly Father, thank you that you have given us this time to gather, to study your word, to learn. Help us to open our minds, to gain from what we learn and to then apply it in our lives. We thank you, give you praise, pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
All right. We finished up chapter 15 of Joshua last week, looking at the various cities and the settlement of the land. And so this whole section, we're kind of moving pretty quick through some of these chapters. It's the dividing of the land. It's important that, because this is part of God's promise, that God promised to all of Israel that they would be settled in the land, that he would drive out the armies, but they would have to go and occupy the land. And as we're going to find out as we go on through this chapter and through the book, there's still going to be resistance. They're still going to have to fight in order to secure their territory. And so the bulk of it's been done. All of God's promises have been fulfilled as far as the tribes getting their land, but the various families and various groups within the tribes that settle each city are going to have to conquer those cities. And so, and continue to drive out the inhabitants thereof. And so, lots of, so this is important. It does show that God fulfilled all of his promises. And so we're in Joshua chapter 16. As we've been looking, the various lands are settled by the various tribes. And so chapter 15, we saw the tribe of Judah with their land allotments. We saw Caleb, who was one of the two faithful spies that were sent into the land. He requested to take his portion, which would be the city of Bethel, and in chapter 14 and then chapter 15 records how he took it. And so Judah, they drove out all the inhabitants of the land except for the Jebusites in Jerusalem. And again, they're going to hang out there for another 500 years till David finally conquers the city of Jerusalem. And so in chapter 16, we have the land allotment given to the sons of Joseph. Already, Manasseh, one of the two sons of Joseph, has received part of their inheritance on the other side, the east side of Jordan, along with Reuben and Gad. Those three tribes, or 2.5 tribes, have already settled in their land. And so, chapter 16 records the tribe of Ephraim, and then the other half of the tribe of Manasseh and their land allotment. So it says the lot fell to the children of Joseph from the Jordan by Jericho to the waters of Jericho on the east, to the waters that go up from Jericho through the mountains to Bethel. Then went out from Bethel to Luz, I don't know how to say that, passed along the border of the Archites at Ataroth, and went down westward to the boundary of the Japhlethites, as far as the boundary of Lower Beth Horon to Gezer, and it ended at the sea. So the children of Joseph, Manasseh, and Ephraim took their inheritance. And so that records where their land inheritance is. On the west side, they're right next to each other, so they border on each other. Again, these are the two sons of Joseph. Why did Joseph get two portions? Anybody remember?
Because the Levites didn't get any.
Okay, the Levites didn't get any, but why did Joseph get two portions, a double portion?
Had two sons.
Yeah, because he had two sons, but he saved Israel. And so, as a reward, both of his sons became the heads of tribes. So he's basically the father of two tribes. And so he got a double portion of the inheritance. Verse 5 begins with describing the borders of the land that was given to Ephraim. Those first 4 verses describe the border of Ephraim and West Manasseh together. And now, here's how it divides out. It says, the border of the children of Ephraim, according to their families, was thus. The border of their inheritance on the east side was Ashtaroth, Adar, the upper Beth Horon. The border went out toward the sea. On the north side of Mikmatheth. Then the border went around eastward to Taanath, Shiloh, and passed by and east to Genoha, and then it went down from Genoha to Ataroth and Naarach, reached to Jericho and came to the border of the Jordan. The border went out from Tappuah westward to Kenah, and it ended at the sea. This was the inheritance of the tribes of the children of Ephraim according to their families. The separate cities for the children of Ephraim were among the inheritance of the children of Manasseh, and all the cities with their villages. And they did not drive out the Canaanites who dwelt in Gezer. But the Canaanites dwell among the Ephraimites to this day and have become forced laborers. And so notice they decide rather than drive them out, they are going to enslave them. That's not what God commanded to do, though. And it's really what that is a compromise. They didn't want to kill them all or drive them all out, so they chose to compromise and have these people serve them rather than drive them out. But as we see the case, and the reason God told to drive them out was so that they would not tempt Israel to go into idolatry, which eventually that's exactly what happens. And so that's chapter 16. Chapter 17. There we see the land allotment given to the west Manasseh. It says there also a lot for the tribe of Manasseh. For he was the firstborn of Joseph, namely for Machir, the firstborn of Manasseh, the father of Gilead, because he was a man of war. Therefore he was given Gilead and Bashan. These were some of the cities right on the, you might say, on the border, fortified cities. Bashan is, you might be familiar with the Golan Heights. If you've ever heard of the Golan Heights, that's this area. And so the Golan Heights is really a strategic location in Israel. So if you control that, you can control Israel. That's why Israel, modern Israel, still occupies it. Though it's not technically their territory, they occupy it because every invasion for thousands of years from that direction has gone right through the Golan Heights. So, I mean, hold that. That's a good place to. So anyway, so since this family, this man was a man of war, was a valiant warrior, in other words, he was given these important cities. And there was a lot for the rest of the children of Manasseh, according to the families, for the children of Abiezer, the children of Helek, the children of Asriel, the children of Shechem, the children of Hepher, the children of Shemida. These were the male children of Manasseh, the son of Joseph, according to their families. So each one of Manasseh's sons became part, or one of the elders and head of the family. Now remember, as Israel is broken down into 12 tribes, they're further broken down into families. And so with the elders being the head of the family, so it's a very patriarchal society. So great grandpa, he's the head of the family, and all of his grandchildren and great grandchildren and so forth. And then when he dies, the next oldest, the next generation, whoever's oldest in the next generation, becomes the elder of the family. So each tribe has a group of elders that oversee the tribe. And again, you can see kind of there is a parallel between that and the church. Each congregation is autonomous, and when it's fully set up, has elders that are over that congregation. And so that's just maybe a little parallel we can draw there. And so verse 3 goes on, but Zelophehad, the son of Hepher, the son of Gilead, the son of Machir, the son of Manasseh, had no sons, but only daughters. And these are the names of his daughters: Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. Anybody need help naming grandchildren, granddaughters. And they came near before Eleazar the priest, before Joshua the son of Nun, before the ruler, saying, the Lord commanded to Moses to give us an inheritance among our brothers. Therefore, according to the commandments of the Lord, he gave them an inheritance among their father's brothers. And so here, each family is to be preserved. Each family is to be given its own allotments. And so the head of this particular family has died, and he's left no sons. He had no sons. And so his name needs to carry on. And so his daughters are actually going to get the inheritance that would have gone to their father. And so, and any, when they would marry any of whoever the oldest one, her firstborn son would be considered the direct descendant of her father. And so that's just how that worked. So that there would always be the patriarch of the family in each of the families, in each of the areas, in each of the land allotments. And so already previously, let's see, where was that? I think it was in Deuteronomy or Numbers. I'm sorry?
Numbers 27.
Yeah, Numbers 27, where these four daughters they'd gone to Moses, and so they're given their inheritance. So I think it makes a special note of these four girls that they get their land inheritance in fulfillment of the promise that had been given to them. And so again, it shows that God fulfills his promises. Verse 5 goes on, 10 shares fell to Manasseh beside the land of Gilead and Bashan, which were on the other side of the Jordan. Because the daughters of Manasseh received inheritance among his sons, the rest of Manasseh's sons had the land of Gilead. The territory of Manasseh was from Asher to Michmetheth, that lies east of Shechem, and the border went along south to the inhabitants of Tappuah. Manasseh had the land of Tappuah, but Tappuah on the border of Manasseh belonged to the children of Ephraim. So there's kind of like a little shared area where they overlap. And the border descended to the brook Kenath, southward to the brook. The cities of Ephraim were among the cities of Manasseh. The border of Manasseh was on the north side of the brook, and it ended at the sea. Southward it was Ephraim's, northward it was Manasseh's, and the sea was its border. Manasseh's territory was adjoining Asher on the north and Issachar on the east. And in Issachar and in Asher, Manasseh had Bethshan and its towns, Ephraim and its towns, the inhabitants of Dor and its towns, and so on and so forth. So their tribe is so big, and the inhabitable land there is kind of limited. So they're given little cities, even in that are surrounded by the other tribal allotments. And so sometimes God refers to, or the Bible, the Old Testament refers to Ephraim, especially when you get to the divided kingdom. Oftentimes, the northern kingdom is referred to as Ephraim or Manasseh, mostly Manasseh, but Manasseh being the largest, most populated tribe, it is often just referred to, the northern kingdom is referred to as Manasseh. Verse 11, in Issachar and in Asher, Manasseh had Bethshan and its towns and so forth. The inhabitants of Tanakh and its towns, the inhabitants of Megiddo and its towns, 3 hilly regions. Again, Megiddo, the valley of Megiddo is a very important strategic location as well. Many battles are fought there throughout the years. If you take the Golan Heights and you take the Megiddo Valley, you're pretty much going to militarily control all of Israel. And so very important locations again. Verse 14 says, Then the children of Joseph spoke to Joshua, saying, Why have you given us only one lot and one share to inherit, since we are a great people, inasmuch as the Lord has blessed us until now? So Joshua answered them, If you are a great people, then go up to the forest country and clear a place for yourself there in the land of the Perizzites and the giants, since the mountains of Ephraim are too confined for you. But the children of Joseph said, the mountain country is not enough for us. And all the Canaanites who dwell in the land of the valley have chariots of iron, both those who are of Bashan and its towns, and those who are in the valley of Jezreel. And Joshua spoke to the house of Joseph, to Ephraim and Manasseh, saying, you are a great people, have great power. You shall not only have one lot, but the high country shall be yours. Although it is wooded, you shall cut it down, and its furthest extent shall be yours. If you drive out the Canaanites, though they have iron chariots and are strong. I think the subtext in there is they're complaining that they've got a hard fight ahead of them. They want easy land. They don't want to have to do what is required to possess these mountains, which are heavily wooded. So in order to have build a town or have farmland, they're going to have to clear some trees. And they're going to have to clear out some Canaanites that have iron chariots. So, the iron chariot was the M1 Abrams of the ancient world. It was hard to stop. Terrifying to see 600 or 800 of those chariots lined up on the hills. And so, very hard to destroy. So, chapter 7, that's chapter 17, isn't it? Any questions or comments on chapter 17? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, okay, so they didn't take care of the Canaanites like they were supposed to.
No.
So now they can't get rid of them, is that what this is saying?
It's going to be a difficulty. So, apparently they've regrouped, and they've got these chariots, and they're going to put up a resistance. So, yeah.
They should have done what God said.
They didn't do what they should have done to begin with. So, we see that over and over, and we'll see the consequences of that reaped all through the book of Judges when we get to that next. And so, I don't know if you have the workbook I put out, but the last question there is, how do we respond when God's provision requires effort and initiative? Oftentimes God, we know what we're supposed to do. We know what needs to be done. It's not very, the work of the church is not super complicated. We're to help one another go to heaven. We're to reach out to those around us, evangelize. We're to teach one another. And we're to help one another in physical needs where we can. It's not real complicated work, but sometimes it's hard work. I'm grading my backyard. It needed mowing before all this rain, and it's a foot tall back there. I'm tempted to wait till July when it's all dead and then go finally mow it. But it requires effort. So I know what needs to be done in my backyard. It's a matter of putting out the effort to do it. And oftentimes I think with the work of the church, we know what needs to be done. We just are unwilling to put forth the effort. All right, we're going to keep on flying through here. We'll slow down when we get to past this part of the land allotment. So, chapter 18 says, now the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh and set up the tabernacle of meeting there, and the land was subdued before them. And so here, if you'll remember, the ark, we're talking about the tabernacle where the Ark of the Covenant is held. This is nearly 1,000 years before the building of the temple, or 500 years or so before the building of the temple. And so for many, many years, the Ark of the Covenant sits in this tabernacle. And it's at Shiloh. It doesn't move anymore. So now that Israel has settled in the land, remember when they were moving, the cloud would appear upon the tabernacle. As long as the cloud appeared on the tabernacle, they stayed put. When the cloud was lifted, they packed up the tabernacle and they moved on. They followed the cloud. But now, since they have settled in the land, so Shiloh is the place where the tabernacle is permanently set up. And so if you'll remember, Shiloh is just on the west side of the Jordan River, just a little ways north of Jericho. And so they set it up there because the land was subdued before them. Verse 2, but there remained among the children of Israel 7 tribes which had not yet received their inheritance. And Joshua said to the children of Israel, how long will you neglect to go and possess the land which the Lord God of your fathers has given you? And notice what they're doing now. They have slacked off. They've conquered everybody, but they haven't gone in and possessed. 7 of these tribes, they're all just camped together here, possibly at Shiloh. And that's where the main camp has been since they entered into the promised land and conquered Jericho. And so how long will you neglect to go and possess the land which the Lord your God has given you, the God of your fathers has given you? How often do we neglect to do, again, what we know we should be doing? Now, sometimes once you've neglected a duty long enough, it's like, oh boy, it becomes harder and harder. The longer you neglect it, the harder and harder it gets. Look at my backyard again. It's getting tall, and I'm sitting there doing nothing. That's the problem with Israel. And so he says in verse 4, pick out from among you 3 men for each tribe, and I will send them, and they shall rise and go through the land, survey it according to their inheritance, and come back to me. You know, remember, the land had already been all spied out. They had already spied the land out repeatedly. But it's been enough time now that, well, let's go see what the situation is now. And so you're going to send 21 men, 3 from each of the 7 tribes, to go and survey the land. And it says, they shall divide it into 7 parts. Judah shall remain in their territory on the south, and the house of Joseph shall remain in their territory on the north. You shall therefore survey the land in 7 parts, and bring the survey here to me, that I may cast lots for you here before the Lord our God. And so the land between Judah in the south and Ephraim, Manasseh in the north, they're going to divide that up 7 ways. And so, and then they're going to divide it up by lot, who gets which section. Verse 7, but the Levites have no part among you, for the priesthood of the Lord is their inheritance, and Gad, Reuben, and half the tribe of Manasseh have received their inheritance beyond Jordan on the east, which Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave them. Then the men arose to go away, and Joshua charged those who went to survey the land, saying, go walk through the land, survey it, and come back to me, and I may cast lots for you here before the Lord in Shiloh. So the men went, passed through the land, and wrote the survey in a book in 7 parts by cities. And they came to Joshua at the camp at Shiloh. Then Joshua cast lots for them in Shiloh before the Lord. And there Joshua divided the land to the children of Israel according to their divisions. And so they divide the land up, cast lots to see who gets which allotment, and then that's how it's set. All right, so beginning there in verse 11, we see the land that's given to Benjamin. Benjamin is the smallest of the tribes. And so now the lot of the tribe, the children of Benjamin, came up according to their families. The territory of their lots came up out between the children of Judah and the children of Joseph. Their border on the north side began at the Jordan, and the border went up to the side of Jericho on the north, and went through the mountain westward. It ended at the wilderness of Beth-aven. The border went over from there toward Luz, the side of Luz, which is Bethel, southward, and the border descended to Ataroth Adar, near the hill that lies in the south side of lower Beth Horon. Then the border extended around the west side. The south side, verse 15, began at the end of Kirjath Jearim. The border extended to the west and went out to the spring of the waters at Naphtali. So he just continues to describe the land allotment given there to Benjamin. Really says it went around, verse 17, it went around from the north, out to En-Shemesh and extended toward Galiloth, which is before the ascent of Adamim, and descended to the stone of Bohan, the son of Reuben. And so, so now the cities of the tribe, verse 21, I'm skipping ahead a little bit. The cities to the tribe of children of Benjamin, according to their families, was Jericho, Beth Hogla. Now remember, Jericho is not to be rebuilt. They were commanded not to rebuild Jericho. And so the land where Jericho is given to Benjamin, but they're not to build there. Now later in the book of Judges, that's a couple of men decide to build a city there, and we'll get to that in Judges. Judges disobedient. I mean, you just think about the book of Judges. Just you could just replace that with disobedience as the title, because that's what really the theme of that is, disobedience. But we'll get there in a few weeks. All right, so they're given all of these cities. Verse 28, Zelah, Elath, Jebus, which is Jerusalem, Gibeah, and Kirjath, 14 cities with their villages. This was the inheritance of the children of Benjamin according to their family. Now, they're given Jebus or Jerusalem, but they don't manage to take it. All right, so wow, I went through that fast. My watch stopped, or we were really going fast.
I don't blame it.
Huh? Yeah. All right, so we'll go on into chapter 19. We're almost, we could almost finish the book today, but we're not going to. It slows down a little bit more, and certainly we get into chapter 20 and 21, it gets a little bit more interesting. And so, so the first lot is given to Benjamin. The second lot came out for Simeon. For the tribe of the children of Simeon, according to their families, and their inheritance was within the inheritance of the children of Judah. So Simeon is given a land that is, what's that called when it's somebody else's land is all around it? It's inside it.
Surrounded.
Yeah, surrounded.
Landlocked.
Landlocked. There's an official term for that, but I can't think of what it is. But anyway, whatever. Their land is completely within the land of Judah. So they can't, anywhere they leave their land, they go into Judah in any direction. So,
And if we remember on the map, it was the hole in the donut that was down in the lower part.
yeah. They weren't given a very good spot, really. Not a really great piece of land there. So they had their inheritance, Beersheba, Moldah, Hazar, Shua, Bela, Ezem, Eltolad, Bethel, Hormah, Ziklag, Beth Markaboth, Hazar Shusha, Beth Leboath, Sharuin, 13 cities and their tribes. Really, by the time we get to the reign of David, Simeon has really ceased to exist as a separate entity. I mean, it just kind of subsumed into Judah. It's referred to as Judah. Their cities are referred to as cities belonging to Judah. And so eventually they just, because they're surrounded, they just get swallowed up by Judah and become part of Judah. And so
So they were
absorbed. And so, and you know, you think about them, at least they weren't bordered by any of these Canaanite cities. Well, they were actually, because the Judites did not drive out the Philistines. But, so this was the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Simeon according to their families. The inheritance of the children of Simeon was included in the share of the children of Judah, for the share of the children of Judah was too much for them. Therefore, the children of Simeon had their inheritance within the inheritance of that people. Because they've been given too big an allotment for their population. Part of it was carved out and given to Simeon. And so, remember, they were, Joshua or Moses had said they would be divided. Each tribe, according to its population, would get a requisite size land allotment. So the biggest land allotment went to Judah, but they don't have the biggest population. So part of their land was carved out and given to another tribe. And so that's the land of Simeon. Verse 10, the land of Zebulun. The third lot came out for the children of Zebulun according to their families, and the border of their inheritance was as far as Sarid. Their border went west and to Marlah, west of Dabasheth, and extended along the brook to East Jokneam. So that's a good one there. Then from Sarid went eastward toward the sunrise along the border of Chisloth Tabor, and went toward Dabarath, bypassing Japhia. And from there it passed along on the east of Geth Hefer, according to Eth Kazin, and extended to Rimmon, which borders on Neah. Then the border went around it to the north side of Hanathon, and it ended in the valley of Jiphthael. Included were Kata, Nahalal, Shimron, Idalah, Bethlehem. 12 cities with their villages. This was the inheritance of the children of Zebulun according to their families, these cities according to their village. It's interesting that Bethlehem was originally given to Zebulun.
I think it's a different Bethlehem.
Okay, you think it's different?
Towns.
Yeah, all right.
Bethlehem.
Might be a bit,
It's
yeah.
referred to Bethlehem, Judah.
Yeah, all right, that's, yeah, got a good point. Yeah, there are two Bethlehem, one in Judah and one in Zebulun, that's right. So then Issachar. The fourth lot came out to Issachar for the children of Issachar according to their families, and their territory went to Jezreel, and included Chesuleth, Shunem, Haphraim, Shion, Anaharath, Rabbith, Kishion, Abez, Rimmeth, in Ganin, in Hada, Beth Pazez. And the border reached to Tabor, Shahazamah, and Beth Shemesh. Their border ended at the Jordan. 16 cities with their villages. This was the inheritance of the children of Issachar according to their families, their cities and villages. We move on to the tribe of Asher. The fifth lot came to the tribe of the children of Asher according to the families, and their territory included Helkath, Hali, Betan, Akshaph, Alamelech, Amad, Mishael. It reached to Mount Carmel westward along the brook Shihor Libnah. It turned toward the sunrise at Beth Dagon and reached to Zebulun and to the valley Jiphthael, then northward beyond Beth Emek and Neiel, bypassing Kabul, which was on the left. So the only pronounceable name, they skipped that one. We're going to go around that one. We can't have that. And including Hebron, Rehob, Hammon, and Cana, as far as Greater Sidon. And the border turned to Ramah and the fortified city of Tyre. There the border turned to Hosath and ended at the sea by the region of Akzib. Also, Umah, Aphek, and Rehob were included, 22 cities with their villages. This was the inheritance of the children of Asher according to families, these with their villages. So it mentions Tyre and Sidon being outside of the territorial allotment given to Israel. And so those are two independent cities belonging to what was known as the Phoenician Empire. They were great sea traders. Later on, David makes an alliance with the king there of Sidon, king of Sidon. And so it helps actually build the temple, provides the material for the temple. So, but that is a land that is outside of the territory given to Israel. And so later on, when the Greeks and Romans conquer it, they lumped that into the same province with the rest of Israel. But anyway, so those are cities that are left out. Those are Canaanites, that they are not in the land promised to Israel, so they basically left them alone. Verse 32 says, Then the sixth lot came to the children of Naphtali, for the children of Naphtali according to their families. Their territory began at Heleph, enclosing the territory from the terebinth tree in Zananim. I don't know what the terebinth tree at Zananim is, but
This describes it as oak.
an oak, yeah. It's a particular, maybe a noteworthy tree. You know, like go turn left at the blasted oak that was struck by lightning struck oak, something like that. So it was something that was known.
And it would be a long-lasting tree.
Yeah. So it was a known landmark. And so it's interesting. You know, anyway, so it ended at Jordan. From Heleph, the border extended westward to Aznath Tabor, and went out from there toward Hukkah. It adjoined Zebulun on the south side, Asher on the west, and ended at Judah by the Jordan toward the sunrise. The fortified cities are Ziddim, Zur, Hamath, Rakath, Chinnereth, Adamah, Ramah, Hazor, Kadesh, Edrei, En-Hazar, Iron, Migdal El, Horem, Bethanath, and Beth-Shemesh, 19 cities with their villages. This was the inheritance of the tribe of Naphtali according to families, cities, and villages. And then Dan is given the last of the 7 tribes to receive their allotment. And we're going to see in the book of Judges, they don't like their allotment, so they want to go somewhere else. But we'll get there in Judges. So the 7th lot came out for the tribe of the children of Dan according to their families. The territory of their inheritance was Zerah, Eshtaol, Ir-Shemesh, Shalalabin, Aijalon, Jephthah, Elon, Timnah, Ekron, Eltekah, Gibbethon, Bela, Jehud, Beneberak, Gath-Rimmon, Mejarkin, and Rakan with the children, or with the region near Joppa. You'll notice the names of some of these cities. Ekron is one of these cities. Ekron was the capital city of the Philistines. So Dan was given the land that belonged to the Philistines, or some of the land that belonged to the Philistines. And so the Philistines are a completely different animal than the rest of the tribes. They're greater, they're harder to conquer, they're harder to deal with. They're a thorn in the side of Israel for the next 500 years. And so they don't like that particular land allotment. It's going to be a tough one to go and possess. So that's why when we get to the book of disobedience, as I call it, the book of disobedience, the book of the Judges, we see that they want to pack up and go somewhere else. And so they're given this land. And the border of the children of Dan went beyond these, because the children of Dan went up to fight against Leshem and took it. They struck it with the edge of the sword. They took possession of it and dwelt in it. They called Leshem Dan after the name of Dan their father. And later when they go and conquer a city in the north, they call that one Dan too. Dan as well. This is the inheritance of the tribe of the children of Dan according to their families, these cities with their villages. So all the tribes now have received their allotment, and all of the heads of the families within the tribes have received their allotment. There's one more elder of Israel that has not received an allotment, and that is Joshua himself. And so, beginning there in verse 49, it says, when they had made an end of dividing the land as an inheritance according to their borders, the children of Israel gave an inheritance among them to Joshua the son of Nun. According to the word of the Lord, they gave him the city which he asked for, Timnath, Serah, in the mountains of Ephraim. And he built the city and dwelt in it. And so he's given not a city, but he builds a city. Remember, he is of the tribe of Ephraim. And so he's given an allotment within Ephraim, but he's given a nice allotment. So you think about what Joshua has done, all that he has done, he deserves a reward, absolutely. And so it's like, those that have served in the eldership well, they're worthy of a double portion. And so he's served very well, and so he's worthy, he's earned his reward, his extra inheritance, you might say. And so these were the inheritance which Eleazar the priest, Joshua the son of Nun, and the heads of the fathers of the tribes of the children of Israel were divided as inheritance by lots in Shiloh before the Lord at the door of the tabernacle of meeting. So they made the end of dividing the country. And so notice it says that the Eleazar, the priest, it doesn't say where his land was given or his allotments were given yet. But they're given an allotment among all of the cities. And so there's these priestly Levitical cities, the cities of refuge that we deal with in chapter 20. And I guess we got 4 minutes.
Well, you've been going that fast anyway.
Yeah, but I want to slow down for this. These are, the cities of refuge are very important. They have a very important function in Israel. And so they're centers of learning. That's where the priests are going to live. And so the priests and the Levites, they're the teachers of the law. If anybody knows the law, it's the Levites, and the priests especially. And so they're to teach it to their neighbors. They're to be places where people can go and learn from the priests and study and know the law. But they're also places of judgments. And so not everything is going to have to go and be judged at the temple. And so where the Levites or where the priests have their cities, that's where judgment's going to take place. So if there's a dispute, you go to the priest settles the dispute. If the elder can't settle it. And also the cities of refuge are there for the person who accidentally slays another person. They can go there and receive shelter, and they can have a trial. And they're protected there because the law of the land was, if someone murders my son or my brother, then as the avenger, I have the right to kill the person that murdered my brother or my son. And so, but if that says, well, no, I didn't kill him, or they flee for some reason to escape being killed by the avenger of blood, so they go to the city of refuge, they will basically have a trial. And if the priests say, well, okay, you're innocent, they can live in that city the rest of their life. They can't leave the city. If they are found not guilty, or they found guilty, they're turned over to the avenger of blood. And so the cities of refuge are not absolute refuge for the guilty, they're refuge for the innocent. And so we'll get into those. They're divided up in the various lands. And so chapter 20 and chapter 21. All right, we'll stop right here. We've got a minute or so. Yes, sir.
I lost count at about 32 on the number of cities. What is the size of the cities, let alone the villages?
Yeah, some of the largest city that they conquered was Jericho. I don't really know if we get an idea of what the population was, but it's probably a pretty big city for that day and age, but 50,000 in a city would be about as big as they got. So I would not imagine I don't really know what the population of Canaan was. We know that Israel's population was about 3 to 5 million. And so I would guess that all of the Canaanites combined were about that same size. That's just my opinion. So, some of these are mentioned as cities. They're not, we wouldn't consider them cities, but small towns, small villages. I think if it had a wall, it was considered a city. All right.